Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scrimshaw Show. My name is Adam Scrimshaw. Um, it's F1 season, and there's a race this weekend, and Lando Norris might be the next world champion. So I had to have on my preseason guest, who I did record an episode, but her fucking air conditioning was on and ruined the audio quality. Formula, whatever. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are
Um,
you?
I'm
Sorry.
doing good. I had a bit of a meltdown on this feed a couple nights ago about the future of the Liberal Party and why they make me want to do things that saying out loud would probably get me booted off any social media platform for saying, but you know it's fun, it's good, life's good.
The fact
It's
that they don't allow kill yourself, like jokes about I'm gonna kill myself anymore online is honestly, they look at what they took from us.
it's so fucking like it's really it's so bad. No, okay, this was what I wanted to start with. People who use the like TikTok language to avoid the censor on Twitter, least favorite people on the internet.
I also don't, here's the thing, like I know that it does matter. Like you really shouldn't even swear, but I'm just not, I refuse, I can't do it.
But like
I
I saw somebody trying to be like, oh, the stupid like, oh, we should the Starbucks boycott, even though they have like literally nothing to do with the Middle East. Um, and someone was like tweeting about it, and they were like Starbucks because they on Twitter they tweeted Starbucks instead of
oh yeah,
Starbucks. It's
people
like
do
what the
that.
fuck? Just say
Well,
Starbucks.
I think that is less about the TikTok thing, and that's more people, they're doing that to be like, this is a swear to me. You know what I mean? Because I hate it so much.
Is
I
it
feel like people
though?
do it with Yas and Helmet and stuff.
Okay, that's different though, because those are like actual whatever. We'll get into the helmet Marco and the Oscar Verstappen of it because there's a lot of Red Bull stuff which will probably end up, which will be a considerable part of this. But we were talking just before we started recording, um, about Oasis performing, which leads me to my most interesting pop cultural question of 2024. Is
Okay.
Maddie Healy having a good year?
Yeah.
Because obviously got, I don't want to say ripped to shreds, but was, a considerable focus of Taylor Swift's far, far, far too long
I
fucking
wouldn't even
career.
say it was ripped to shreds though. It because the
No, it
I mean,
kind of
yes,
was a little
she,
bit, but
but
not
everybody,
really.
it's not like Jake Gyllenhaal who had this like squeaky clean image, you know what I mean? Like everybody knew that Maddie Healy was a fuckboy piece of shit. Like all she was said in that is like, you let me down. It was scathing and but it was also more like I feel like it made him so much more relevant than he's been in the last 5 years. And it also wasn't, it was more her being like, I'm obsessed with you, I feel like.
It was really funny. Like, it was that. I'm not a fan of that album, but it was really funny how it was like, this has been this like big thing that's been in my life for so long now. And it's like, girl, what the fuck? He's just got like
No, well,
terrible tattoos and is like a dick.
it's because they were, they had a thing in 2014, whatever. People are gonna come for me for getting the timeline wrong. I don't exactly know all my dates, but they had a thing like pre Joe, and I don't know where it falls in with Harry Styles or whatever, that era. And then she found out what it meant to be live the rock star lifestyle, and she was like, I don't know if I can do all that, and went and dated Joe. And then low key the whole time was like, I kind of wish that I chose Maddie Healy. And my theory is that like I think not a lot, but some of those songs were from the relationship or like that time period, and she just like couldn't publish them because she was in a relationship with this other guy. And so she put them onto here. And also, but Daddy, I Love Him, I feel like is really a sister song with Ivy, which was on Evermore. So I think the funniest thing in the world is that Joe was like, "Don't you dare write any songs about me." And she was like, "Fine, I'll write songs about how I'd rather be banging Maddie Healy, you fucking asshole."
So here, okay, so if he really had that much of a hold on her, then why did she let herself get like cyberbullied out of dating him?
She didn't. He dipped. Because in
He
an
was the one.
ironic,
He was the one who dipped. I thought she got cyber because her fans were being like lunatics about this.
oh yeah, but in an ironic twist of fate, in a mirror of what happened before, he, I think, with all of that happening, got a little bit of a taste of what it meant to date Taylor Swift. And he thought he could do it, but he was like, I don't know about all this. And
So obviously, the reason I'm bringing up Matty Healy in the context of the Oasis reading is he went on Q with Tom Power, and it was the sort of like, what are you guys doing? You have the coolest band ever, and you're just not doing it, you know. And everyone was just like, "Thank you, Matty Healy" on Twitter all weekend, and it's like, I don't know. Would not have expected the amount of people who were unironically tweeting gratitude to Matty Healy in April, because I was on those internet streets in April, and I just the 180 was quite funny.
but also the thing about Maddie Healy is any celebrity who has a thing, like especially music, and is objectively talented, is a lot more resilient to these kind of things than and it's not like Maddie Healy just ghosted her. It's not like he did anything true. It's not like John Mayer, you know what I mean? Like he is just kind of a fuckboy. I feel like that was the takeaway. And it was like everybody has had those situationships that you kind of had a mental breakdown about, even though externally it wasn't that serious. But it was like, anyway. But I think he's had a good year. And now with this Oasis thing, he's riding his high. He got engaged and people didn't even like get that mad about it.
I mean, that so this is completely unrelated to this, but I speaking of people who got engaged and I didn't know, Matthew Kachuk, who is a Florida Panther and is like whatever. Um, I saw an interview with him this week, which one realized I had never heard Matthew Kachuk speak until that interview, which was quite
That
funny
happens to
to
me all the
realize. I have
time.
been watching this motherfucker play hockey since 2015. I watched this motherfucker in person play junior hockey. Okay, realized I had never heard him speak until this week, which was hilarious. But
You're not
two,
in the YouTube streets like I am. I watch all the interviews. I watch all of the
but every hockey
videos.
player interview is just the same shit. You can just repeat what they're. I can pre-do the interview for them.
Yeah, I will say when I first started watching F1, I was floored by both the way that the journalists spoke to the players and or the drivers and the
And
way
the
that
fact that the drivers answer the fucking questions.
right, I, the amount of honesty. I think there is something to be said about like I think it's partially because we have the radios as well and they make them do it like right after. You know what I mean? They don't give them any time to like go back to the people, but I guess the hockey players do too. I don't know what it is.
No, it's just every fucking interview is just like, yeah, we just didn't get the puck luck tonight. We just gotta. What do you want to do better next game? Well, we just gotta, work harder. We just gotta, fix our mistakes. We just gotta do the little things, and hopefully the puck will bounce our way. It's like Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
Yeah, I also think it's maybe because hockey, although obviously F1 is a team sport,
yeah,
because it is ultimately what's going down on track is an individual competition. Because like they're not going to go out there and be like, oh, like the hockey players and be like, oh, so and so fucked up so bad or like whatever. They should trash talk the other people more, but at the same time,
but like even the fact that the drivers are much more willing to criticize a strategy decision or the team, you know, or hell, their own teammate sometimes.
yeah,
Like that is so wild to me because you just don't get it in North American sports. Anyways, Lando Norris is going to be the world champion.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, what's the point gap? Do we
70.
know?
It was 78 before. It's 70 now.
Okay.
So if it's a Lando Max 1-2, they would need Lando would fall like 4 points short if every race from here was a 1-2
Okay,
between
yeah.
them
He needs to gain 8.7. Well, he needs to gain, let's call it 9 points a race.
a weekend though, because remember there are sprints. There's I think 3 sprints left.
Yeah, that's true.
Qatar, Coda, Brazil. So yeah, I think he would need four fastest laps would tie him with Max. Sorry, so a 7 point gain from every race, 3 points from the sprints cumulatively gained, and then four fastest laps would tie him, five would win him in. Here's the thing: is Red Bull the
I
second
have faith.
fastest car?
I have faith. No. Well, it depends. Yes, if it was Mercedes, but also like Mercedes is so inconsistent and Ferrari is nowhere. So yeah.
But here's the thing: Ferrari are nowhere. They have an upgrades package this weekend.
Yeah, the last upgrade package made the car worse. So let's hold off cheering on that one.
Okay, but let me make the case. Okay, I think what has happened with Mercedes actually makes complete sense, and I think it's just that we misread Montreal. Okay, because what
Wait, what do you mean
happened,
Montreal?
we misread what the Montreal Grand Prix meant for what the Mercedes car was.
Oh,
So if you look at where Mercedes have been particularly quick this year, right? Montreal, and I know they didn't get the results out of Montreal, but they were arguably the fastest car that weekend, just as George didn't know how to fucking drive that day. And Lewis qualified like shit. Um, so Montreal, Silverstone, uh, Austria, and where else did Lewis win?
he didn't win.
Belgium.
Oh, oh, oh.
Belgium. So those four tracks. There's so we thought Montreal was the slow corners thing, right? Because in 22 and 23, Mercedes did really well in slow corners. That's why George was able to win in Brazil. That's why they both Mercedes were able to put it on pole in
Yeah, but
Hungary, right?
Silverstone is fast corners.
Right. So, but we thought coming out of Montreal, okay, slow corners because Montreal is two sectors of slow corners and then one sector of straights, right? So we thought, oh, slow corners, okay, that makes sense. And then they went to Silverstone, right?
It's the straights. So Lewis win this weekend?
Let me finish. We get to Silverstone and it's fast corners, right? And we're like, well, they should be that competitive. And then George fucking puts it like 2 tenths on, puts it on pole, like 2 tenths to Lando, right?
Yeah.
Nearly 2 tenths to Lewis, but 2 tenths to the McLaren. Um, Belgium, Lewis underratedly fast for kind of no real like no one thought that was happening. Even tossing George because of the DSQ and just generally like, whatever. He did a Hail Mary strategy and it worked. Lewis, no one really thought Lewis would have that race pace. He did. And then Hungary, right? Which if you think the slow corners thing was real, well, I mean, Lewis managed the podium, but really the reason he managed the podium was because Max just like forgot how to drive, right?
He didn't forget how to drive, but it was not his finest hour.
It was not Max's yet. Fine. Okay. But like you get the point I'm making, which is the slow
Yeah.
corners thing, like because I sort of was optimistic about Mercedes last weekend. I thought Hungary was an aberration, they'd be fine. I really do think they traded slow corner speed for fast corner speed. And if that's the case, I think Mercedes are going to be fast this week. I think they're going to be pretty shit in Baku and Singapore. But frankly, those are going to be McLaren 1-2s anyways, as long as Oscar knows what the fuck he's doing. But my point is, I don't think we can bank on the fact that the Red Bull is the second fastest car.
But
Like,
I don't think we can bank on the fact that Lando Norris is gonna not like automatic like it.
he
You're
won
talking
by
like
22 seconds despite botching the start and wasting 15 laps and looking at Max's fucking gearbox.
he can still fuck up quali, fuck up like this isn't Max or Lewis. Like Bottas and Checo weren't winning in the fastest car. You know
Lando's
what I
a
mean?
better driver
I
than
think he's better
fucking
than
Valtteri Bottas. Come
I
on.
think he's a better driver than Valtteri Bottas, but I think that assuming that he's going to have the same result as Max and Lewis is a little bit presumptuous.
I agree to the
Like
extent
I
that
think that
if you had given Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, any of those three drivers, Lando's McLaren since Miami, they're in the title lead by now.
agree. Maybe not in the
So
lead, but it would be a
it would be a
fight.
20-point gap, and we would all like Lando would be like a massive favorite there, or they would be a massive favorite in the betting odds, right? It would be one of those things where the lead's slim, but we all know it's going to get overtaken.
But
I
like you said,
agree that Lando is a tier down of a driver. Just to be clear, before you continue.
both Ferrari and Mercedes have shown the ability to have a hot weekend. And I think that we can like it's not going to be 20 seconds every single weekend. You know what I mean? I feel like it's moving around more than that. And like McLaren will stay definitively in the lead, but I think George, Lewis, Charles all have the ability to outqualify Lando significantly. And then in a track like Singapore where it's hard to overtake, you know what I mean?
So that would be the case. Although I think the McLaren is going to be fastest car in Singapore, but I understand the point.
Or he could
But I think the Ferrari and Mercedes' ability to have sort of spike weeks, I actually think really hurts Max, right? Because what
for
happens if
sure
he
because
comes
it means he
fifth?
won't be P2, but I don't think that McLaren's it's been one weekend where they've been 20 seconds ahead. Let's relax.
They've
I
had
think
the fastest car since fucking Miami. We've been saying it every week in your fucking post race
right,
TikTok lives that how the fuck did this motherfucker fumble the bag with the fastest car again?
right. So he's fumbled the bag 6 out of 8 times, and you're like, okay, but the next he's gonna go 8 for 8. That's crazy.
Maybe, but at some point he has the fastest car. I mean, the Simply Lovely, Lando going Simply Lovely after he
That's the other
wins the
thing.
race.
He just antagonized Max. One thing I would not be doing is being like, I kind of like it though. Like it is
Oh, it's the most likable thing Lando Norris has done in
right. Like I like that because I always say that like that's the attitude you need to have if you are going to win a world championship. You have to like he basically looked at Max and was like, "I'm coming for you." I think it's kind of crazy considering that they're like friends, but also it's I mean, it's if I were a Formula 1 driver, I do think it's kind of crazy that they have like no ability to separate their personal relationship from what happens on track. And like they all say that they do, but it like you can over the course of history, you can tell that that is very, very often not the case. However, none of them like show the ability to do that. So maybe Lando and Max can, but and it's just like all fun and banter. But
well. Danny Rick was doing a like, oh, Max is not going to take that well. It's like,
okay,
Jesus Christ, Danny, you don't have to be Max's fucking
not too much on my
message
point
carrier.
because I feel bad for Danny Rick though because they asked him about it and then he gave a very diplomatic answer. He was like, "They're both supremely talented." It was so funny. He was like, "Lando's confidence has grown so much in the." I was like, he wants to say something else, but he, I, I just don't think Lando Norris is going to be able to flawlessly execute 8 race weekends in a row.
I agree. Like, I agree in theory, and then I look at it and go, yeah, but when is Max winning a race again? This is, by the way, Max's best chance to win a race the rest of the year. Because that Red Bull, to paraphrase Maggie Thatcher, that Red Bull ain't for turning. That Red Bull
No,
don't turn very well. It's janky. It's a lot of straight line in
I
a
don't even
fluid
think
thing. And like, if the Red Bull ain't turning, this is basically your only chance to win the rest of the year.
if Max can consistently finish on the podium, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to be able to, because the thing
Yeah,
is,
that's the
right?
thing.
Like, so the other thing that's been super interesting about the Red Bull recently is they're loading up on quality pace, right? uh he Max put what,
Yeah.
6 tenths on Charles in Belgium, 4 tenths on Austria, which is obviously a much shorter track. And then yet in Max had no race pace, admittedly stuck in dirty air, but he couldn't get by George in in Belgium. In Austria, again aided by a bad pit stop, but Lando closed on him in that third stint and very clearly was the faster car.
Yeah.
Same with Spain, right? If Max hadn't if Max hadn't sorry, if Lando hadn't spent so much goddamn time behind George in Spain, like, he was closing on Max at the end again. Like, it
If.
right. No, I get that. I get that there are ifs here, and I get that. Look, do you think I like taking a pro Lando Norris position?
I just think that you're giving him too much credit. I think
I'm
that
giving the car the credit.
that's fair. It's also like,
He has a fucking rocket ship.
I hate to say it because people get so mad at me because I'm pro Oscar. I want to be pro Oscar, but like
No,
at
no,
the same
save this
time,
point. Save this point. I have an Oscar
okay,
Piastri thing in like 5 minutes.
okay. I
So
have so many feelings.
no, so the other thing, I do think the spike weeks are going to end up hurting Max, because, like, yeah, for sure, Charles will end up on a podium here. He's
Lando's
generally been
gonna
a good, Charles has generally been a good qualifier in Singapore. I think second in 22, uh, uh, third, sorry, no, second in 22, third in 23. He was on pole in 2019, correct? Before Seb fucked him on
where?
the outlap in Singapore.
Yes.
So, like, if Charles were to put something together in Singapore, like, no one, I don't think, would be particularly surprised, right? Hell, Charles has pole in Baku, what, 3 years in a row?
But also, like, I just think that Lando Norris is going to, like, and maybe not going to, I don't know, but it's a not insignificant possibility that he will make a catastrophic error, a la Russia, a la the only time that he's had to go wheel to wheel with Max. Because if he does that with it, like, if he does that with an, like, if he crashes or bins it or even has a mechanical DNF
And even if
or
he crashes out Max, like, when you're losing,
no, but if it's some with
crashing out
some
doesn't help
right,
either of you, right?
exact, right, exactly. But I will say, if it's someone else, like
That is even worse, right? Yeah.
he hasn't even gone wheel to wheel yet. Like, what happens when he loses like 9 places on the sport? You know what I mean? I just think not to be wow, that's I'm being too mean to Lando. I've really been trying to not be so negative,
But I
but
do, but the funny thing is that, like, I think the starts are actually, like, weirdly kind of a pro argument for me, which is like, he clearly has room to, like, be better.
to improve. No, that's true.
He has, like, yeah, okay, let's say so Monza obviously won't be as good of a track for McLaren as Zandvoort was, right? McLaren's two best tracks this year have been Hungary and Zandvoort, which are heavily correlated, slow corner heavy
I
tracks,
just
right?
feel like Lando Norris needs to execute in order to make this work. He needs to execute flawlessly. And I just don't think that the odds of that happening are high. And
So
a
I'm
lot
gonna be
of people,
really disrespectful here. Lando absolutely feels like this generation's Jensen Button, which
that's
is
actually so fucked up to
well,
Jensen.
no, but like a guy who basically needs to have the fastest car to have a hope in hell of being the
He doesn't
WEC.
need he Jensen was amazing at McLaren. He was Lewis's most competitive teammate statistically.
George Russell actually would like to enter the chat on that
Oh, I
point.
haven't done the math on him, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like I
Sure,
and
but like,
like
but Jensen,
Jensen
but
is good.
when you
Let's
look
not
at
get it twisted.
sure, but when you look at the list of world champions from, basically from 2023 back to 2000, Jensen is by far the weakest world champion. right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like it's hard
Well,
to.
Jensener, it's literally Jensener, Kimmy.
You don't think Nico?
No, because Nico had to beat Lewis Hamilton for a world championship in the same car.
Yeah, but Kimi had to overcome Ferrari. So really, when you think about it, I agree with you that I think that Nico, I think it's like I think obviously Lewis is in a league of his own. And then I think Seb is also it's like Seb and Max. And then
Well, if we go back to the 2000s, then Schumi has to be in this.
oh, well, I count him for the 90s. Obviously
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
up there with Lewis. Sorry, he did
yeah,
win
yeah.
in the 2000s.
No.
Um
I'm not trying to mansplain to you. I'm trying to stop people getting mad at you.
No, I know that was
Yeah.
bad. He is a champion in the 2000s. I just think of him not of this generation, obviously.
Right. But
But
but yeah, it's Fernando, it's
I think
the big
Fernando,
four, then it's
I think like,
Fernando, and then it's your one-time champions. It's Kimmy, it's Jensen, and it's Nico in some order. And I find Nico's championship to be so much more impressive than than Kimmy or Jensen's, because Kimmy, of course, won against a divided McLaren in a year where McLaren literally had all of their constructors
yeah, but
stripped of
Ferrari
them
fucked him over.
because of fucking Spygate. And then um like
Yeah,
Jensen,
but
I mean,
Ferrari
the
fucked
thing
him
about
over so
Jensen
many
is
times. Kimmy,
Jensen 2009 actually is kind of a great comp for 2024, because by the end of '09, Jensen did not have the fastest car, like, at all. He was just hanging
no,
on by a wing and a motherfucking prayer.
he was hanging on by a wing and a prayer. But I also think that Jensen's career at McLaren, he performed really well. And if McLaren had their shit together, like he would have been fighting for those championships. I mean, well, no, there were years where Lewis outpaced. Lewis was clearly more talented, but like it's Lewis. I feel like he and Nico are hard to compare for that reason. But I also think that Nico has a really strong record of like he was top of the midfield, putting his car where he didn't belong for years. So that does like add something to the resume.
Nico winning was 2012 China.
Yep.
Like, that is one of those wins where, like, that is an announcement. Uh,
Yeah.
that is an announcement of your quality. Um, in the same way that, like, wow, I'm doing a George Nico
Seb
analogy. Wow, that's so fucking surprising for me.
Seb
Um,
Monza.
Seb Monza, or even Georgia's fucking quality lap in Spa 2021, right?
I would say George's announcement was secure. Like, even though
Yeah.
obviously it was heartbreaking, he like beating Valtteri Bottas in that moment, overtaking Loki, it's kind of better that it happened. Well, not better because he would obviously prefer to win, but he had to overtake Valtteri twice and he did it easily both times.
Stealing Valtteri's soul at literally the first quarter of turn one was it some that not being his most impressive overtake in that race is actually a genuine fucking shock to me.
But
Because
also like overtaking him and Valtteri almost got out qualified too. George was very, very, very close.
yeah,
And overtaking him in the first corner is like maybe the most gangster thing anyone's ever done in this generation of no, Bahrain 2019. Charles overtaking Seb at the lead against express Ferrari team orders not to
yeah.
is unfortunately the most iconic thing that ever happened, especially in light of like everything about Sebastian Vettel.
Well, that is what you see. Seb's history, obviously, and multi 21 and Mark Webber and etc., is what makes that so iconic, because Seb literally had no right to be mad at Charles. Like,
He
literally, he had
wasn't
none.
either. That was the cheek touch. The cheek touch picture happened after that race.
Exactly. Like,
Because Seb knew he was, that's why, like, despite, I feel like most dynamics when it's like that, it's either like they just, they either, it's pretty rare that they gel. Although Kimi and Antonio Giovinazzi is like low-key the best teammate pairing of all time. They were so funny.
yeah,
But
but unfortunately stuck in a
you
fucking
could
crap car.
tell that, you could just tell that Seb adored fucking with Charles and found him so amusing. And Charles was just like happy to be there. But also he was such a little terror on track. And then I'll never forget Syria. like he literally just ran Seb over with his car and but then went to the interview. He's like, I am so sorry. Like I ruined Seb's race. Like I understand if he never wants to forgive me. I was like, oh my God, girl, get up.
Oh,
But and like the tribute helmet, I just
oh
feel like
God, you love that tribute helmet so much.
because I think of Charles Leclerc sat at his kitchen table selecting photos for that collage, and it really warms my heart each and every time. But
The
also,
F2, the F was it an F2 race where Seb is just no, it was Charles when he was in F2 at, at the podium watching
ugh,
a Seb
the
win or
fact
something.
that Seb wasn't in Monaco this year, he should be put in prison for that. He really should.
Honestly, unacceptable of him. Like
No, and there are
you live in
so many.
Switzerland, you can drive there, get there for once when Charles on pole, get your ass there.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was. We didn't know. He was incognito. But I just like, yeah, obviously, I would love to interview Sebastian Vettel, but my most important question I would have to ask him was, were you consciously aware at the time that Charles Leclerc was the punishment for every crime you ever committed against Mark Webber? I would
Um
have, I would have
I
phrased it like that, but it
yeah, no.
is so funny that Charles, he can't get mad because it's him.
Right. So sorry, I just had a thought now. So do ex drivers like have permanent paddock passes? Like if you're Sebastian Vettel and you just like decide you want to rock up to the paddock.
Oh yeah, every world champion has a lifetime paddock pass.
Okay. Because I'm like, do you have to call somebody? Like, is that like I would just
I
like
mean, I'm sure you have to let them know you're coming because I'm sure they don't actually they probably do because F1 is so dramatic and I love it. They love a show is like have them all hanging every race weekend just in case.
yeah, like I'm just thinking about this because like obviously if you're like a Nico or whatever, like Sky will just get you in if you want to show up one week or whatever, um, or Jensen or any of the people employed by any of the I was gonna say news sources, but like I don't count Sky as news when it comes to F1. It's barely biased propaganda, barely shielded propaganda. But it's like
That's
I
what
just really
all
want to
sports
know like
media is
who
like.
Sebastian Vettel has to call to be like, hi, I want to watch Friday practice
Well,
in
the answer to that is Britta for sure.
oh my god. Okay, very quickly because I do have because we have two more like topics for this like race weekend that I want to talk about, and then I have like a whole other thing.
Okay.
Sebastian in 3 years, Sebastian Vettel decides he is going to work in F1.
Oh,
What team does he make his first phone call to? Ferrari or Red Bull?
Ferrari.
You think so?
I mean, I don't know that he would. I think it's much more likely that he'll join like F1 or the FIA or something like that as in more of that kind of role. But
You don't
he,
think he's going to be the new helmet Marco?
I think it would be more likely for Red Bull to offer him a job. But I think that in his heart, he, well, also, I found it very interesting that he did not go to the Red Bull Goodwood event, even though he went the year before and he's, obviously frolicking around Europe at the moment. Maybe he really had a scheduling conflict. I mean, I know he's in his mountain biking era, but at the same
Do you think he
time,
didn't go because of Porter and all of that shit?
yes, one would
To
like to
to
think.
to to be clear, I fully believe that Christian Horner did the things he is accused of. I'm not trying to
Yeah, everyone.
diminish.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, it's like whether, I mean, obviously, I don't know. It might not be that. It might be a scheduling conflict, or he might have other like he, reasons not to go. But it was literally all of them. And Seb loves a ceremonial event. Like, I feel like normally he'd be all over that. Like, he's come back and done the stuff with F1 and whatever. It feels, and also, even if it was like, I could see it being, I mean, obviously, as a Seb fan, I would like it to be like, this is about, he realizes like, it's a bad look. I don't really know what's going on with this situation, but like, I'm not gonna throw my PR weight behind someone, because it is like low key Horner and all of his little stooges, right? So Seb's like, I'm not going to add my PR weight behind someone who is pretty credibly accused of sexual harassment. But it could also very much be like Britta being like, that's a terrible look. Don't do that.
For sure. Okay.
But anyway, so that's I think Ferrari.
Do
Also, I
you,
have
do
a
you want to
dream that
talk about Oscar Piastri or Logan Sargent first?
Logan,
What
they're
the
both going to be
fuck are they
bad.
doing putting Colapinto in that seat?
They're counting on the fact that he's not going to crash every 4 seconds because people like to act like Logan Sargent doesn't substantially is what I meant to say, crash more than the others, but he does like quite a bit more. And people are like, oh, but you're going to throw a rookie in and hope he does better. Every single driver on the grid was a rookie at some point, and none of them did that. So I don't know. I think he will do better.
So here's the case. So the rumors which I have heard as well and have somewhat substantiated is that Red Bull was willing to give Lawson up at the price that basically if Lawson is needed, he is called back to Red Bull, right?
Mm.
Absolutely, I would have done that as Williams and been like, Colapinto, you might come in and race if Red Bull needs Lawson, as opposed to doing this. Because here's the thing, right?
Yeah, that's
Monza
a way
is
better
their
option.
entire season. I know you know the answer to these questions, but I'm doing this for listeners. What is the only definitive trait of the Williams?
That it's slow.
Fast in a straight line.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That
Oh,
is their
oh,
only thing. What is Monza full of?
very straight lines.
Yes. This is their fucking Nick DeVries got 2 points at Monza 2 years ago in that dog shit Williams, right? Which was way worse than the Williams is now.
Yeah, they
Like
should have given it to Liam. What the fuck?
because the thing is, who cares if they need to recall him for fucking Singapore
They're
or
also
Baku
not
or
going to need
whatever?
to. There's like a 99% chance that they won't need to. And even if they do, then put Colapinto in, which is like what we were
Exactly.
already going to
Because
do.
because this is their whole fucking season. This is arguably the last time Williams has a realistic chance of scoring points. Because just the track lays, I mean, especially in Baku and Singapore, like the Williams can't deal with corners. Of course,
Yeah.
they're gonna be dog shit at both those tracks. You know, and then like maybe Coda if things break right or there's a couple DNFs ahead of you, like, but fucking deal with that later. Get Lawson in. He actually has a chance of like eighth place, right? Four
Yeah, but
points are
Red Bull could
pretty
have also
important.
said no.
No, Red Bull's no Red Bull. Like Horner said publicly, like, yeah, if he wants to go, like, we're not going to stand in the way. The
It's not
reporting,
Horner's choice, though. It's Marco's choice.
Marco. Here's the thing, man. Liam Lawson has fucking leverage over Helmut Marco because Red Bull's exclusivity clause for Lawson's 2025 runs out the day of the fucking Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So if you're Lawson, you can just say, Helmut, you want me in a seat, you want me to not look at Audi, you want me to not look at other options. Fucking let me race for Williams. I think it's absolutely about the recall provision, and Williams said no to it, and they're fucking morons. Please, Lawson has a
Yeah, it would have been
decent
smarter to
chance of
take
that.
Liam. But also, like, they want to reward their own driver program so they can entice more people to join it.
But the thing is, who gives a shit? Because they don't have a seat open for 2 years at minimum. And if
Right.
I'm Colapinto, I don't know what the fuck this is worth to me either. I mean, I guess
I mean, it's
better to
worth
drive
quite
an
a bit.
F1 than
First of all,
F2. But
these
like you're
people,
driving for a dead end car, you have huge
okay, but
expectations because you're the mid-season savior. If he comes 12th this week, everyone's gonna shit on him and say, "Well, you should have just fucking let Logan in."
he, yeah, but first of all, these people have been raised since infancy to believe that the only measure of success in life is becoming a Formula One driver. So there's that, like you get to do it regardless of whatever. But also, Nick DeVries got a seat off of a one-time appearance, basically. Hulkenberg came back to Formula One because he subbed for Aston Martin. These because F1 is so like the hot girl of the moment. So it's like you have to believe in yourself and come in and know that if you perform well, it could open doors down the line. Yes, it doesn't look like anything's available right now, but if you do well and put yourself in the conversation and keep yourself in the conversation, I mean, Jack Doohan got a Formula One seat by just, being around the, like you can wait around for a couple years and maybe somebody will take a chance on you when things break the right way. You're always going to need a little bit of luck. But from his perspective, I absolutely think that this is because he wasn't getting a seat anyway. It's not like this he's doing this instead of what? Of F2. You can go do F2 next year if you really want to.
Can you do F2 after you? Well, I mean, I was gonna say
Yeah,
only
because you
Behrman
didn't win.
exists.
The
Yeah.
only reason you can't compete in F2 is if you won.
So can we just take 30 seconds and be like, why the fuck does Ollie Behrman just like have a guaranteed F1 seat for next year when he's getting like boat raced by fucking Kimi Antonelli, who we're not even sure is any good?
Because he's a Ferrari Academy driver and they must like and he a prime example of what I was talking about. He came in, he did well, not even like exceptionally, but he just did what he needed to do.
Like
And
I think I with the benefit of hindsight, I think, oh my god, he didn't make Q3 in a Ferrari. Like that's a yikes.
I also think that I think he did good. Not great, not bad. I think it was a tough track to do it on. I think that he came in and met expectations and they must like his sim times and stuff. And also, I don't really watch F2 because it's so early in the morning and I just can't be bothered. I'm sorry, like I'm not waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I just think it's so random and like there are so many like crashes and 5 car pileups that
Yeah, but he's getting like out qualified every fucking week, it seems, by Antonelli.
yeah, no, he is. I
Because
mean,
like yeah, the F2 standings are dog shit, right? Like Aaron Paul was leading the championship just because he was like, basically the only car who hadn't DNF'd yet. Like
the thing is, the Ferrari Academy, more than like not more than any other, because not more than Red Bull, but like they do tend to get them seats in F1. Like
for good or
Giovinazzi,
for ill,
what?
for good or for ill, I mean, has the Red Bull Charles is literally the only good Ferrari Academy product as well.
Well, but yeah, but 90%, not 90, maybe that's an exaggeration. 75% of Formula One drivers don't make it past the first 2 years, you know?
Sure, but like Giovinazzi, Mick, was Martin Ericsson? I know he was at Sauber, but like was he Ferrari?
Yes, I believe so.
Right, like the Ferrari driver academy seems to just spit out some like mediocre dog shit and then
And
Charles.
Charles.
Which again, Charles, it's kind of like the quarterback thing where like you just kind of need one of four of them to be good, right? Like you hit your
Well, think
one and
about the
you're
Red Bull.
fine
I
for a
mean, how
while.
many Red Bull Academy drivers have there been that like have fallen off? I mean, yes, they have had
Seb, Danny, Max, Pierre, Alex all have had good F1 careers.
that's very true, but the F1 driver academy is so much bigger and has been going on so much longer than Ferrari. There's like also exponentially more drivers that didn't make it, like Kvyat and Brendan Hartley and the other Sebastian. And I don't really remember all of them if I'm being honest.
Well, there's
But
the and then of course there Liam Lawson's kind of just there mostly because frankly like they don't have a better option. Like that's the funny thing about the Liam Lawson discourse is that like it just totally ignores the fact that he would not have been the guy who Red Bull would have gotten the Danny Rick like when Danny Rick broke his wrists in Zandvoort. He was not actually supposed to be the guy who got that job because it was supposed to be Yuri Vips, and then Yuri Vips said the N word on a Twitch stream, which is really fucking funny to me. That literally his career has
twice,
been totally
not
derailed
once,
by this.
twice. No, it's good. I love it.
Oh,
I love when karma works. You know what I
that
mean?
is not a derogatory funny. It's just like that is like a real world example of like you would have been the it girl, you know, for all these F1 teams, and you said the N word on a stream, and now you're not.
Twice, twice.
Right. Oscar
He
Piastri.
doubled down.
When are we gonna have like when are we as a collective F1 fandom going to have the Oscar Piastri conversation? Which is like, at some point, dude, you have to get past Charles Leclerc. I don't give a shit.
Oh my
So
God, I thought you were about to tell me that Oscar said the N-word and my heart dropped to my stomach. Don't
sorry,
fucking scare me like that.
sorry. So so
I was
obviously
like, what did he do?
I'm a gambler, right?
Yes.
And I was watching the race on Sunday, as I do, and I look, I tend to look at like the betting odds for like podiums or race winner or whatever, because sometimes there's money to be made live, right? Like Max and Imola, which you were at, when Lando was gaining, like Max actually became an underdog in the odds to win, and so like I hammered him because that's I just didn't have faith in Lando at the time. Worked out. Um, but
And yet you place your faith in him now.
well, here's the thing: Lando's either going to be world champion and I'm going to be rich, or he's going to lose and I'm going to be happy about that fact. It's a win-win.
That's true. That's
It's
true. You
like
don't
it's like betting on Republicans to win.
don't
It's a
do that.
win-win for me. Um,
Oh, yeah, I guess that's a fair point. But
so
yeah, no, Oscar is
before I launder my Mitt Romney should be appointed to Kamala Harris's cabinet take.
you've been
Oscar
watching too much
Piastri,
wrestling.
you need to pass Charles Leclerc. You were like a 5-1 favorite to do it in the betting odds, and then you just failed. You need to
Yeah.
be able to do these things. You need to step up when it matters. Who was it? Fucking Helmet who said today, like, oh yeah, we thought Max was gonna get passed by Oscar, and then Charles just held him up. What the fuck, man? Do your fucking job. Oh, it's the
Listen,
second season. Oh, who gives a fuck? You want to
I
you
would
want to you want to
never.
have the fucking temerity to go come in the public and talk about, well, I might be in a title fight. I don't know, maybe I don't know. We'll see what I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight until I'm not in the fight anymore, and then come out here and just sit in Charles Leclerc's dirty air like a fucking bitch ass. Get the fuck out of here. Be better than this,
Oh,
or
don't call him a
shut the
bitch
fuck up.
ass. I think, listen, Oscar has shown promise, but at some point when the chips are down, when you have a fast car in F1, like there are kind of no excuses because you just never know how often that is going to come along. And I just feel like we love to judge F1, like really, really talented F1 drivers, world champions, by how they're doing when the car is ass. But like, I think that like true talent shines when you have an opportunity, be that the fastest car or something breaks your way in the race or whatever it is. The ones who are truly good are always able to lock in that moment. And obviously, everybody fucks up and everybody has moments where they make mistakes, but they also have times where they make it happen and like work miracles. And so it's just tough because I don't know, like I love Oscar and I'm rooting for him, but he qualified 3/10 off his teammate. So he's,
Qualified
and
third.
it's
Sorry, no. He qualified 5/10 off his teammates at one of the
okay.
shortest tracks in the fucking calendar.
You're right. It was,
Because Max was 3.5 tenths off,
yeah, yeah.
and Oscar was another tenth and a half off Max. And again, one of the shortest tracks in the calendar. Like the thing about Piastri is that
And it's Lando. Like that's the thing.
it's not Lewis Hamilton.
Max
It's
or
not
Lewis.
Verstappen. It's not even Charles Leclerc, right?
Right.
And Oscar benefits from like a benefit of the doubt that George got a lot of in 2022, and it has finally started to go away, which I actually think is good because I want George to be sort of like, if I think George is really a world champion, a future world champion, right? Like he needs to be like treated on the level, but he does get a bit of that benefit of the doubt, which is like when you outperform your teammate, you're a god, and when you underperform your teammate, well, that's what you're supposed to do. He's kind of getting the Carlos Sainz treatment, actually, right? Which is how he's treated when it
Yeah.
comes to Charles. And like the thing is, if you're being treated like Carlos Sainz, like that's just kind of a sign, pardon the pun, that you're just not that guy. Because the thing about Carlos Sainz is, as much as Martin Brundle and fucking Karun Chandhok want to fucking gaslight us that they are, he's not a fucking future world champion. Fuck no. He's not a winning car away from a WDC. Get the fuck out of here with this.
But he beat Charles by 11 points in 2022, even though Charles's car actually exploded and launched him into the Mediterranean Sea 8 different times during
Do
that
you mean do
season.
you mean 2021? Because Charles came
That
P2
is what
and
I meant. That is what I meant.
because yeah, because well no, so do you know what an 11-point gap is? Um
Oh, you're right.
it's
It wasn't.
Charles's DNF in Monaco where they didn't replace his gearbox.
Don't even fucking talk to me about Monaco 2021.
But it
I
was a gearbox failure. I've been told many, many times by Martin Brundle that it was a gearbox.
and the fact that the next year F1, I'll say this about Formula One,
Are
it
you really
contributes
not
to
going to
my
bite on
faith.
this?
It contributes to my faith in some kind of higher power because somebody's got to be pulling the strings up there. I don't know who it is. I don't know what they're doing, but like the fact that like the story of Formula One, there's too much foreshadowing. There's too many things that are like hilarious coincidences. Like the fact that the next motherfucking year, Sergio Perez crashed in quali, still got pole, and then like went on to win the race as if it was no problem because you know what the team did? They were competent and they fixed his car. Charles, it wasn't the gearbox, it wasn't the engine, it wasn't anything that couldn't have been replaced without Laura, you had to incur a penalty to replace because I have no problem with taking that risk if that's the case. It was a cracked left drive shaft that it could have been replaced with the like for like part, no problem, except for that they didn't check that side of the car because it wasn't the one that impacted the barriers. Maria Mattia Binotto said all of this on live television. I have the clip, Formula Whatever Done It, Curse of Monte Carlo, I think the article is called. And but they didn't check it because it wasn't on the side of the car that crashed, as if the entire car is not one object. Like, listen, I got a C in high school physics, and even I know that the force reverberates through the whole car.
This is the rant that I was teeing up for you. Um,
It genuinely, I cannot be gaslit because I've never thought that I was wrong one time ever, even though I'm wrong all the time. But this is the craziest thing. And like, I
how
think
does
they're
he
doing it
get
on
away
purpose.
with just saying it on fucking Sky Sports every fucking
As if
five
it's a
races?
fact.
How has no one corrected him yet?
Because they're doing it on purpose. I like really believe that. And I know that that's like borderline delusional, Lick Fossey, Team LH behavior. It's not everything's a conspiracy. But my thing is just like, it's okay. At the time, fine, whatever. Martin Brundle does that shit all the time. The fact that and both him and Crofty, but Brundle's always the one who brings it up. He really is pushing home the point. But they both think that. But year after year after year after year, somebody at Sky Sports must know the truth. You know what I mean? And that's just objectively not what happened. They said it on Sky Sports. And so they must know and are doing it anyway.
Right, exactly. That's what drives me fucking crazy. So we didn't actually really get your Oscar take because we got distracted because this is what you and I do when we're
No, I
talking.
was so mean to Oscar and I feel bad. Like, I like Oscar and I believe in him and I want him to do well, but also, like, I feel like that meme of the guy with the stick that's poking and I'm like, do something.
I mean, the thing about Piastri is that he is really going to be the ultimate test case of the. It's like what's the stat, like one F3 and F2 or GP3 and GP2 as rookies back to back years. It's like Lewis, Nico, Charles,
Yeah, but Nico
George.
Hulkenberg is also in that group.
But Nico Hulkenberg is 5, and then Oscar is 6, right? He is really the test of whether that statistic means anything whatsoever,
Well, I
right?
think, like I said, and this is purely, I don't watch it, so this is purely me going off what people say on the internet. But I do think that the lower categories are kind of losing. Well, and also Mick. Did he, maybe he didn't win GB3 as a rookie. Oh, he wasn't a rookie when he won F2. But
Right. Yeah.
I think that those series are maybe losing a little bit of credibility just because of that when you only have 8 races, it's a little bit, I mean, there's more than that, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit random. And one crash kind of means everything because also they're trying to stack sprint the whole weekend. So it's like your whole weekend is demolished and the teams have far less capacity to recover than a Formula One team for obvious reasons.
It's just really
And
funny that like basically 2018 is this like great F2 season, right? It's George, Lando, and Alex, and then basically since then, F1 has or F2 has precipitated half of a good driver. Piastri, you can take or
since
leave
when,
what you
sorry?
think.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Basically,
but these
since the class of 2019 rookies came in, Oscar is the only person who has driven an F1 who you could even plausibly claim is any good.
the thing is though, what's interesting is if you look at it over time, it does go in waves. Like
Oh yeah,
there's
for sure.
I plotted it out one time because I was doing a different video, but I did a TikTok on this. I think it's on my other account, but that basically you can see like there are years and like clusters of like 2 or 3 years where people it's like the Max Charles, I mean, sorry, not Max. It's the Charles, Lando, George, Alex, Pierre generation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
Those five drivers basically all were rookies in the same 2 seasons,
yeah, and
and then
then
since
it's
then nobody good has been produced. Well, Yuki Tsunoda allegedly is good, but I don't believe
well,
that.
Lewis Seb, Nico Rosberg, and fuck, somebody else, not Jensen, definitely not Fernando and Kimmy. Well, Kimmy's 2005 and Kimmy's 2005. Or no, he's not same as Fernando, 2001. Well, but Jensen and Nico and Lewis all came from the same 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And like not sorry, Jensen, Seb. And then Jensen, Kimmy, and Fernando were all the same year or like within the same space. So it
wasn't
does
wasn't
kind
like
of
Danny weren't Danny and Valtteri the same year, I believe.
yeah, and Checo is also like kind of around there. Max is a little bit of an outlier because he belongs with the Charles group, but he just joined so early.
Right? Yeah, he joins as a 17-year-old or whatever.
But I think it's partly to do with that. I don't know, maybe talent is just it comes in heaps and fits and or fits and starts, but also I think it has to do with like that's just kind of how the turnover in F1 goes. You give people a couple years, they're eventually like and they kind of cycle out. And there'll always be a few in between, but they cluster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but like there is definitely a generational sort of like, other than Lance, basically like all of the people who came in like 14, 15, 16, 17, most of them have totally washed out. And then the
But even
vast,
Lance is there artificially, you know what I mean?
yeah, because this
If
is
it were
a
based on true
NASCAR,
talent, no
right?
offense.
But like, and then, but like again, since then, like Mick washed out, Giovinazzi washed out, Nick DeVries came and went pretty quickly. Mazepin, obviously,
Boo.
Joe is on his way out. Um,
I mean, but most of them are gonna,
well,
I
yeah,
would
that is
say,
kind of the thing. Like most F1 drivers are not going to
I
be
would
good.
say 30% of them get 2 years. And then the rest of that 75% is people that get like 3 to 6 years. And generally, if you could make it past that second, third contract, you're probably pretty talented.
Well, Esteban Ocon exists, so I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure very talented applies to Esteban Ocon.
No, but like also there is that, then you kind of get into the middle group of drivers who are like solid, good, probably want to race, but we're never going to be that guy.
Sure, but I also don't really understand what ass is doing. Whatever. Um, so can we just like take 30 seconds to what's your allegedly Kimmy is being announced by the time this podcast is coming out. Allegedly he's being announced tomorrow morning before FP1.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. What's your command to
We'll
that?
see. I mean, might as well give her a go. Like, you have to, I think there was not a choice better than taking that gamble because he's so highly rated. He's so good. And if he is like, people are like, oh, you need to give people time to develop, but that has never bared out in the past. I think it's sink or swim. And if he's going to swim, he'll swim the same now as he does a year from now.
So the really interesting thing is I mean I'm not gonna pretend I'm like a smart enough person to know like whose driving skills fucking you know translate from F2 to F1. Like I don't
Yeah, the
that's
thing
not
is,
a gig.
I can't have a true opinion because I have watched like two F2 races this year. But I just think that if he really like
If he's that guy, like Lewis was dropped
so
into like the hardest
they said
situation of
that
all time, and he became the goat, right?
right. The
Like,
Lewis's, the Maxes, even Charles like joining Ferrari with Seb in his second year. And I think that if you are that guy, you're gonna do well in that situation. And then if not, like it buys Mercedes some time to because they're not gonna get Max now. So they might as well roll the dice. And if this kid is a max level driver, fantastic. If he's not, I think they already are really secure in their choice of George. And like Toto does believe that George is going to be a world champion. So he feels comfortable rolling the dice, knowing that he can always hire Carlos Sainz later.
so here's the thing that I find really interesting. I'm increasingly coming of the opinion that George is going to end up being Red Bull's number one driver in 2027.
Ugh.
Well, no, in fairness, I don't know if Christian Horner will still be at the team, but it really
What do
does
you mean? That
feel.
man is not going anywhere. They're 10 to, at this point, firing him. Obviously, I want him to get fired, but at this point, firing him would be dumb because they've already like taken the hit of standing behind him. You know what I mean? At this point, if he got fired, everyone would know that it was just like political maneuvering behind the scenes and because they weren't doing well, not because they actually care that he sexually harassed his assistant.
Yeah, but the thing
Allegedly,
is that you
allegedly.
can make the argument that Red Bull are favorites to come third in the constructors next year. Arguably
If
fourth, if you think
Adrian
Lewis is
Newey,
that big of a fourth in the constructors on the table for next year. If
if
Lewis if Lewis is that guy and Lewis does what you absolutely hope he will do to Ferrari, fourth is 1,000% on the table.
I can't even think about it. Like I'm genuinely real life like I have anxiety about Ferrari next year, which is like bad. It's not real. Like it I does not matter how which millionaire drives in circles the fastest, but a war is coming like a lot of people have never seen before. That's all I'll say.
For sure. But like fourth is on the table now for Red Bull in a way that it wasn't 6 months ago. Like because Mercedes with a full Mercedes have some of what you might call 2023 McLaren, which is like they found something in season, the development progressed, but now
But
that
they
they
did that the
know,
last 2 years too.
no, they did not. They did not win two fucking races on true pace in
That's
either
true.
2022 or 2023. They did not have how many pole positions does Mercedes have this year? Is it just the two?
I don't, you can't make me remember things like that off the cuff.
No, like George has two pole positions. Even if you take George's Austria win out, which like I understand why you do that. Also, George should have a win
No,
this year. So like,
they haven't been this solid. I'll give you that. But at the same time, I feel like at the end of every season, we're like, okay, Mercedes is kind of figuring it out. And then we just go back to square one.
yeah, but the thing is that they were totally frauding their way to that, which is they kept developing their cars the last 2 years to the end, and Red Bull gave up.
That's
This
fair.
year,
But
it's
also I think that that's other things. I think that people will keep developing their cars at least past the point we currently are because it's the last year of the regulations and also because Red Bull is so vulnerable.
sure, and I do think that, but here's the thing, right? Like I think Red Bull are in a really precarious state, and obviously, Jos Verstappen, Christian Horner, not big fans of each other, right? Helmut Marko, Christian Horner, not big fans of each other. I do think there's a real chance that Max wants out. And I think at that point, I think George Russell would be the one on the chopping block if Antonelli is the prince that was promised, right?
I think that Max is going to demand Daniel as his price from Horner because the thing is,
Oh, for
Max
sure.
Max holds the trump card because the tie. So the way that the Red Bull ownership works is that the tie ownership. So it was these two guys. They founded it together. Then they died. Their sons inherited it, but the agreement was when they died, the tie ownership owns 51% of Red Bull.
Just to be clear, fuck, I'm forgetting his name, but the one of the owners died the weekend of Coda 2022.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but that was the Austrian one. He was
Yep.
friends with Helmut Marko. So despite the fact that Helmut Marko and Yas, they can yip and yap whatever they want, but Helmut Marko's true power is gone. The only thing he has control over now is the drivers. And because he doesn't have Dietrich Mash, I don't know. Dietrich was his first name. I don't know him personally, but um that was his trump card, right? Because like he was like good friends with him. But
He did
now
he does he
Christian
doesn't have his
Horner,
guarantor anymore.
right? And Christian Horner has, I believe it's rumored, allegedly, the Thai side of the company on his side. And obviously, Helmut Marko is Austrian. It makes sense that he's aligned with the Austrian side. And it seems that Yas, at least, is on that side. But if Max truly wanted Horner gone, I feel like Max is the only one that really has the power to go to the Red Bull ownership and be like, I'll retire right now if you don't get rid of Christian Horner. So I think that he is going to go to, I think the most logical, but he hasn't done that. If he was going to do that, maybe he doesn't want to do it mid-season, but
Well,
I
there was the reporting that Danny Rick had been that Max and Danny Rick had been told Danny Rick was going to have the seat
right.
after Spa or
That's
yeah
yeah,
after Spa.
exactly. And so what I think happened is that I mean, who knows? This is pure speculation, but that Max went to Horner and was like, I will not, because Yas and Helmet really have no power. Max is the only one with power. So he is like, I will not go against you if you promote Daniel. And
Yeah, but
Horner said yes,
we
but
know that
then
Max just wants to drive a fast car, and like if he loses the
right, but
championship,
exactly like the car being shit changes the calculus for everything because it comes back to at the end of the day, as much as I kind of love that move for Max in terms of defecting from Marco and his dad, Christian Horner deserves to be out, not because of any political maneuvering, but because he literally sexually harassed his assistant, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. And
I can guarantee you the listenership of the Scrum Show is not high enough
I mean, we
to
should be more careful about these things. We don't really, really know, but also like I know
a company that puts somebody who makes an accusation against their de facto CEO
on suspension
on suspension is a company that's guilty.
when he wasn't suspended, and they had whatever. We don't need to. I could do an hour on that, but
Also, doing trotting out Jerry Halliwell to
oh my God, it made me
for the Bahrain
sick.
perp
I like
walk
actually
is
need to be
fucking
careful about how
hilarious.
I talk about this because it makes me real life mad on a level that I cannot like. It really,
I
oh, like
can't believe that she
you,
agreed to do
I
that.
hope hell is hot. Like there is, oh, I wish Jerry Horner the best, but
Do
that is
we? Do we?
low. That is low, 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 low. Well, also, okay, trust tree. Everyone who's listening right now needs to be in the trust tree. I know it's bad to gossip about things like this, but Christian Horner left his wife for Jerry Halliwell when his wife had like just had a baby.
Well,
Or maybe she was
that's not
pregnant.
quite as bad as the Newt Gingrich John Edwards leaving your wife when they have cancer.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
I I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm just saying it's not quite as bad as leaving it when they're dying.
Well, yeah. I mean, he also could have murdered her, but I just I don't know. I hate Christian Horner and Jerry Halliwell is just a side character in that, but like showing whatever, however you want to handle that in private, like that's kind of your business. But showing up in the paddock to do this like thinly disguised, tacky, transparent, sickening PR stunt to like present this united, like,
Because she
okay,
doesn't
Hillary
even, because it's
Clinton.
not like she goes to all the races.
No,
So like that was an intent.
it was,
It's not like,
yeah.
oh well, she came and she just did a
And
job
like
to do
the
what she
whole like
always does.
walking in, holding hands, like it was, they were ready for that moment. It was like a statement or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever you want to
It's
do, Hillary Clinton, but you're never going to be president. So I don't,
God. Okay,
I love Hillary
can
Clinton.
we
I'm
do
sorry. I
90
shouldn't be
seconds?
pissed.
Can we do 90 seconds on the fact that the real reason that everybody should vote for Kamala Harris is that Hillary Clinton will be so fucking mad?
You know, I wish Hillary Clinton the best.
Do
And
we? Why do we wish Hillary Clinton the best? Why? Fuck Hillary Clinton. It's your fucking fault. Run a better campaign and we wouldn't have to deal with this.
okay, but like I also feel bad for her because she was just like a little awkward and weird. Like that was her problem. And as someone who's a little awkward and weird myself, I did feel for her in that moment. And also, no one knew.
Every time Hillary lets loose after she has lost the election,
Okay, but that
I
means she
go,
was
if
ready.
you had said this in public, if you had been this way in public, you would have won.
And
Who is Hillary Clinton? What is Hillary Clinton's football team?
where's she from? New
Well, she was
York?
born in Chicago. She was the first lady of Arkansas, and she was a senator from New York. I don't fucking know the answer. Do you?
New York. But the thing is, like, she was ready to run against Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, and then all of a sudden Donald Trump came along, and like, for better or worse, the thing about Donald Trump, like, he destroyed her because he's funny and like
But the thing
evil.
is that when you run as a humorless personalityless robot, like, yeah, I get to
Hey,
criticize you for that fact because the thing is, we can't even say that that's a sexist criticism because Kamala Harris is leaning into showing her personality, right? When she did the video with the get to know me with Tim Walls, the first clip of that video is her making fun of him for his tacos being too bland, and then she does 90
yeah,
seconds about how fucking Prince and Stevie and Aretha and fucking Coltrane are the music that she grew up listening to. And the thing is, the fact that I know for dead fucking certain that Kamala Harris would fucking rock the shit out of Sir Duke or fucking basically anything off of any of the great Stevie albums, right? That she can rock fucking My Sherry and More at fucking karaoke makes me like Kamala Harris more. Okay? We need video of her fucking rocking Respect at karaoke when she was 27.
right,
Like
yeah.
that
I mean,
made her
she's
likable. So
significantly
it's
more.
not a sexist thing to be like Hillary was a robot because Kamala Harris is running a campaign that humanizes her. He'll fuck Hillary Clinton. Absolutely get the fuck out of here with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, also
Stop
she's like,
lionizing losers.
also
Democrats. Stop lionizing people who fucking lost. If she had won, women would have the fucking right to get an abortion in America because
and
fucking
also
Ruth
if
Bader Ginsburg wouldn't have fucking died under a Republican president. Fuck
she,
Hillary Clinton.
she also was like openly corrupt at the State Department, and like that is
And
what led.
also only had a Senate seat because her grand bargain with Bill was that she wouldn't leave him for fucking a 21-year-old if he got her a Senate seat.
That's kind of a slay though. But I mean, it's not because he's like a predator and like, yeah, if he wasn't a predator, that would be a slay, but he is a predator. So, and also you have to like, you could stand on your own, like, well, but
Well,
this would be my
clearly she
advice to
doesn't
anyone.
think she can.
Right. Which is sad to me, which is why I like feel pity for Hillary Clinton. Also, we need more women in crime. You know what I mean?
um okay. So here's my big thing. That the last thing I want to get to because we've been talking for far too long. I've taken up far too much of your time. Um did not realize how long we've been talking until I just looked at the clock right now. What is more likely to happen? Lewis Hamilton wins an eighth WDC,
Oh, the dream.
Charles Leclerc wins his first WDC,
Don't make me choose. Choosing between those two things is
or
so.
Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg do a 1 hour pre-race confessional for Sky Sports.
That is never gonna happen. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
but
I
also like,
firmly disagree. I
but also like,
absolutely think they're gonna do
I'll say this:
something
if you had
before
come,
Lewis retires together on camera.
I'll say this: if you had come to me when I like 2 years ago or even a year ago and said Lewis Hamilton is going to guess Nico Rosberg for a question in Grill the Grid. Not something that like, oh, it's like what who is champion this year? Like that wasn't the answer. I like willingly. Also, if you had told me that Lewis Hamilton is going to be doing his post-race podium interview with Nico Rosberg, I would have said,
And it's not
you're
like and it's not even a big deal.
right. And yeah,
Like
it's like
they're
no
just like
problem.
fine. They're not an
Right.
issue.
And they were not, Lewis winked. If you had told me that while conducting his post-race interview with Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton winked at him 2 years ago, I would have passed out. I would have passed out.
Um,
So never say never
sorry,
on the
sorry.
two of them.
Before you continue, when they did in like 2020, when they did the name every world champion you can remember by year.
He didn't do 2016. They cut it out. The fact that I know the answer to that question is so sad. I'm sorry. Like I'm a grown adult, but I do know that.
No, but that's what I was curious about. Like, because obviously, Lewis, named Nico in this week's Real the Grid, but I'm like, so, like, did like so exactly? I kind of really think this is all coming to like a heart to heart, on Sky before like fucking Monaco or Silverstone 2026.
Oh my God. I think also like something I do firmly believe that is if Lewis does win an eighth world championship, he's gonna pull an Nico and just
Oh,
retire.
he's gone the second he the
As
well, because think about how he handled all of his contracts at Mercedes, right? It was always year to year, right? Like the the funniest talking point of like, oh, Lewis was so offended that Mercedes only offered him a 1+1. You were literally doing 1+1s every year at Mercedes, buddy. Lewis didn't announce he was driving the 2021 season until like fucking February.
yeah. Well, I also think it's more about like the ambassadorship and like
Well, okay, that's actually why he didn't. But at the end of the day, Lewis is absolutely not driving once he gets eight. It's the only reason he's still driving.
yeah, I
Lewis
think
doesn't give
he'll
a shit about F1. He wants to be the greatest, and if he can't be the greatest, he doesn't give a shit. You were absolutely right preseason when you said that if Lewis has a race winning car, he'll lock in, but like that we shouldn't overread mediocre results in a midfield car. Like for sure, you were
well,
absolutely right about that. But Lewis Hamilton is a man of the fucking world. He's got fucking fashion opportunities and fucking business opportunities and fucking rich people to hang out with and fucking Shakira to fuck or whatever the fuck he was doing in Miami last year. Like he has shit to do.
I
Once he
think that
wins eight, he's
yes,
fucking
but I think that
gone.
you underestimate. I don't think that you can show up and be as good at something as Lewis Hamilton has been for the last nearly 20 years without being a little bit obsessed with it and a little bit addicted to it. And I think that you can tell that because when Lewis is the coolest cucumber of all time, he's so good at media and he's good at being honest when he needs to be honest and being coy when he needs to be coy. But he never loses his cool ever, 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 ever. And that's because he's been playing the media game on hard mode for this whole time because of racism. But that's a whole other thing. The only time Lewis loses his cool is when he can't compete and when the car is bad. And that's because Lewis, God bless him, is a little bit spoiled when it comes to cars by the function of the fact that he's always been so good
Well,
that he's
he made the ultimate, like the thing about Lewis, right, is that he
He
made
understands the game and he chooses.
he's the anti Fernando, right? Because Fernando never has not made the correct career choice in like 15 fucking years. And Lewis has only made great career choices, right?
Right. Because he
Um,
understands the game and he understands
well, he
that.
also understood that 2013 was the price worth paying for the fact that,
Right.
Ross Braun and oh fuck, who was the luminary ex driver who used to be at Mercedes before he died? Fuck, what's his name?
Nikki.
Nicky Lauda, thank you. He understood when Nicky Lauda and fucking Ross Braun sat him down and said, "Look, 2013 is going to be a struggle, but trust me, we have the engine for 2014." And
Yeah.
Fernando could never make that decision. He could never get it right, and Lewis did. And like, I hope for Lewis's sake, Ferrari has something cooking for 2026 because genuinely, the thing I've always said about Lewis, and as somebody who has gone back and rewatched all of the sort of like classic Lewis seasons, right? But
If
wasn't
Adrian Newey
there?
went to Ferrari, which it doesn't look like is going to happen at this point, that would have been, I would have been like Lewis,
Oh,
motherfucking
for
Hamilton.
sure, for sure.
But
But I just want to make this point. The thing about Lewis, I hate Team LH. I hate them with a fucking passion.
hey, be nice.
No, they're some of the worst people on earth. They all need to be. They all need to be drone striked. Bring back the drone war solely for Team LH accounts. But like Lewis has always been much more rational and much more reasonable about George than Team LH has been, right? Lewis has never really
I
said a
think,
bad thing about
yeah.
George. Lewis has only been respectful and whatever. Like take the DSQ and Spa, right? Like, Team LH accounts got all fucking offended at George being like, I'm proud to have crossed the line first. And Lewis is like, that sucked, mate. You did well. Hopeful we can stand on the podium together sometimes before I leave, right?
Lewis
Totally
is nothing if
a
not grace.
normal fucking response from Lewis. So I will always respect Lewis and I'll always be a fan of his, solely because of the fact that he is so much more rational about my
It's
favorite
because there are
driver.
so many Team LH people. Like there are plenty of normal Lewis fans out in the world. It's just
Yeah, but again, those people I don't count as Team LH. I count those as Lewis fans. I think there's a difference between those two things.
I just want to say
Like, you're a Lewis fan, you're not Team LH.
as a member of the Lickfosi, there are those in Lickfosi Nation that I do not claim. So
No,
I
and your point about Lewis as being the biggest fandom, so if 10% of all fandoms are insane, then yeah, like
right,
that I
exactly.
do
It's like
understand.
purely just a numbers game.
Yeah, for sure. So
But
you still haven't answered my question. Are Lewis and Nico gonna have their big sit down? Lewis wins the world championship or Lewis wins another, or Lewis or Charles wins his first. What's more likely?
here's the thing. I think that the relationship between them has obviously because it was like for a minute there, like it was Lewis, I mean, sorry, Lewis. Nico was like aggressively acting normal. And Lewis just would not. He was like, it was bad. It was like he was really slighting him. He wouldn't mention his name. And then we had the COVID paddock. They were spotted speaking to each other. And then there was some paparazzi photos. Maybe they were on the same yacht. Maybe they were just in the same area. We don't know. And it's kind of, and then this year, well, then the craziest thing, and then 2020 Drive to Survive, they like entered the Bottas segment with Nico and like Lewis like kind of talking about Nico, but being like, there was a guy who used to be my teammate. And then Monaco 2022, there was just a random 20-minute pre-race segment about Nico and Lewis's Monaco vacay, where he said his name. And also, I mean, I loved the segment, but for what? Like that was so normally Lewis usually does sit downs, but normally they'll have them go do something or they're like reviewing. Like, why was this about? It was because Monaco is so special to Lewis, and that was the message it was meant to convey. And then they had, but to include Nico in that, and then they had Nico Rosberg live react to it on Sky Sports, which is a little bit cruel, but also I need it, some things need to be done. You know what I mean?
Well, so my favorite part of Nico Lewis lore was, so I think that was actually 2021.
No, that was 2022. You're thinking of Jeddah 2021, which I forgot, but that was when
I thought the Sky
Nico.
Sports package was 21 because I know Nico was on 2022 Monaco coverage, but that leads to my favorite Nico on camera moment, which is when Martin Brundle is talking about how George, he's just doing it. He's got his head down. He's not making trouble. He's working well with Lewis. And then they just immediately cut to Nico's face. Whoever was doing camera on that fucking pier in Monaco is my favorite because like cutting to Nico as we're
Oh, the
talking about
F1
George
camera
being
work is
a good
always top
teammate is
tier.
amazing. I love it.
Well, in 2021, before it was in Jeddah, after the
Oh,
race.
sorry. Before we get into that bit of lore, can we talk about the I don't remember what race in 2020 it was where they flashed the like Bottas versus Nico teammate comparison.
Oh my God, that was do you mean my favorite clip of all time?
And they're
Well,
just,
there's no
they're
way,
just
there's
talking
no way
about
to
how much
really
worse
compare.
Bottas is comparatively than Nico was.
It was,
Expensive, but so great. I love
and
it.
Nico, he was good about it because I was a little bit worried because it would be him to be like, obviously I'm much better than Bob. Because the problem with Nico is he just says the truth, but you're
Yeah,
not allowed to do that. So
for sure.
but he was like, no, there's no need to compare, despite the very direct comparison in the graphic right below them.
Um,
Oh, but yeah, no, in Jeddah 2021, Nico was like, they were like, do you think Lewis is, they asked Lewis in the press conference, do you think you're a better racer than you were in 2016? Because that was obviously his last real title battle. And Max, Lewis was like, yes. And then a dramatic pause. And he goes, and teammate. Hard cut, Sky Sports panel, Nico and Jensen. The funniest reaction of all time. But also, I will say, I think after 2021 was like kind of the softening point, which makes sense. Like it was really hard for Lewis. And also, I think that he hadn't been through another true title fight since 2016. And because Ferrari could never truly get it together to be competitive with their car over the course of a full race calendar, that I think he kind of realized like, because Lewis and Max, as much as there was, I'm sure, some animosity between them during the moment, I don't think that either of them ultimately like really care about each other that much to be like, I hate you. You know what I mean? And I think he was like, maybe it really just is the situation a little bit more. And so I think for whatever reason, even if it's not that, like Lewis's attitude has kind of softened toward Nico a little bit. And Nico's
well,
gotten better.
also, I mean, clearly Lewis has always had a certain amount of affection for the Rosbergs, right? Like Keke is responsible for a decent amount of Lewis's, karting career and all of that.
Oh no, he and Vivian have always been friends, and he's always
And
like gets to
Lewis is
go
always
get.
giving gifts to the Rosberg kids. Like it really does feel.
No, it was just petty as fuck, like within the world of Formula One, which is why I respect it so much. Like I would have done the exact same thing. Literally going to Sky Sports and being like, he's not allowed to interview me. Like there's nothing else I would have done in that situation because he was like, I just don't even want to publicly, Nico Rosberg does not exist to me. And Nico was just pretending like everything was normal and the dichotomy was very funny. But also, it's just so funny that Lewis did that because it would have just, if he'd just been normal about it, like we would still be talking about it because we still talk about all the great rivalries, but we wouldn't still be talking
But
about it
this
in
would be
terms
a
of
but
like,
this would be a 7 mark where it's like we only really talk about it when like Mark Webber decides he needs to bitch about the 2010 Silverstone wing again.
right.
Whereas like this has taken on an increased place in our sort of like collective thoughts and memories because it's fucking insane how like how far Lewis went out of his way to say my teammate or my former friend or various euphemisms instead of just saying, me and Nico.
Yeah.
Um
And the fact that Nico persisted in just being very like frank about the situation, like him being like, Bottas is only his favorite teammate because he didn't challenge him. Like, I'm like, girl,
I
you're in
mean, I mean,
public.
I mean, we did need somebody to tell the truth. Which you
It
will
is,
do over at your TikTok at Formula Whatever, Formula underscore whatever on Twitter, Formula Whatever.co, because you're too good for a .com address, correct?
Yes. No, it's formulawhatever.net now. No, it's the problem is I had those other two ones and then I couldn't, whatever. I forgot my password. I couldn't transfer them over. So now we're formulawhatever.net, but I'm gonna remember it this time. Promise.
Net. And some before Vegas week, I'm saying this on my platform now because I'm gonna commit myself. Um, are you gonna let me write my ranking the F1 grid by their ability as poker players before the Vegas Grand Prix piece this year?
Yes. I
I
have to figure
forgot
out
to
how
do
to
it
do
last
that.
year because I just NFL season got to me.
Yes, absolutely. I was actually just thinking about today. I was like, I need to be
I
better
just
about.
the thing is that like part of the reason I haven't actually bugged you to run a Formula One piece is that I've been able to write weekly previews for the lines, and I just get to like the one great thing about the lines is they just let me write as much as I want.
Yeah, so
Like
you can squeeze in your takes ahead of the.
so like but the good thing about the lines is that like they don't like I can only bill for a certain number of words, but I really don't give a shit if I write 1,200. Yeah, I can bill for the 800 or
Yeah,
whatever.
you have to write what you feel in your heart.
But the thing is, they just will let me be deeply unhinged. And I don't really like I don't care. Like I just I once referred the moment when I realized how much leeway they were going to give me was when I wrote a political column for them about the 2022 Georgia primary, and I got away with like four different Donald Trump has a small dick jokes in the piece, and they just let all of them through editing. So I'm gonna find out whether I can get tripod as a nickname for Pierre Gasly through editing tomorrow before my Monza preview goes up.
I'll say
Um,
this about Pierre Gasly. We bullied him about his incessant need to
it's
tell us all he
really
has a big
annoying
dick.
that you guys succeeded
And
in
it
this because
worked.
I
No, and
quite
I'm glad that
enjoyed
it
the dick
worked
jokes.
because
Thank you very much.
you sometimes you need to take constructive criticism. He was making it was giving like the toddler that makes a joke and all the adults laugh and so they just keep saying it over and over and over and over again. Like we get it, you have a big dick. And it gets to the point where if you make more than 1.5 jokes about that, I'm starting to doubt whether you actually have a big dick.
So the thing is that like the if he did it after the tripod joke, it would have absolutely killed it for me because the Monza the Monza like what position am I in? And then somebody responded with like missionary, and he
That
sort of
was funny. I made
responded
a video saying that was
right.
funny.
No, that was funny, and then the tripod joke is like but like it is actually genuinely a good thing that he shut the fuck up afterwards because
There was
frankly,
one
if I was
other
a
instance, I
third
don't
in that
remember it.
one, I would have. Well, so there's the Instagram comments where he drops the puppy emoji after the
Oh yeah.
photo dump. Although that is, in fairness, Lewis Hamilton's fault for for Instagram comment replying
That no,
from
that
his
was funny.
dog's
There was something
Instagram
else.
account.
No, logging into Roscoe's Instagram account to do that is crazy.
Although, in
Um,
fairness, Lewis Hamilton also could probably be described as tripod, given
well,
the
we know that
race
for a
wide
fact because he
selfie that
showed us his dick on the internet.
right,
So
exactly.
don't talk about it, Pierre. Be about it. You're either Lewis Hamilton was out here in his all white marble bathroom posing. All right. So I don't want to. Lewis Hamilton's old social media like is my Roman Empire. The way he fully has posted basically his dick on the internet, a service to all mankind, truly.
Piastri
So
being
that
the only driver of this generation that is like terminally on Twitter is kind of disgraceful because like we need one of the unhinged ones to be like terminally on Twitter.
I think Charles is more online than people think that he is.
Sure, but he at least has a brain enough to like stop him from posting, right? Like he
Right.
used to send messages through his likes, which isn't as bad.
No. And also like the thing is, yeah, they're just it went away because people are like they're too like Lewis got criticized for it forever. And then he did something to be fair, like he actually like said something like kind of bad, like not kind of bad, actually bad, and was like boys shouldn't wear dresses and like but I was like, well, no, all of the other stuff showing your personality was fine. Just don't be homophobic or transphobic or whatever kind of phobic you were intending with that. But
Also, we
like,
should probably not expect 24-year-olds who have mostly spent their lives thinking about how to drive in various shaped ovals and not, in classrooms.
well,
Like,
and also I think that Lewis, well, I think in Lewis's case, like he listened. So
Right. But like just in general, like I am kind of really done with the like, oh, a 17-year-old tweeted like faggot. Like I
listen,
don't.
if you judge
I
me by my
cannot bring
behavior,
myself to care anymore. If you tweet that shit when you're 30, okay, fine. But like I really just cannot bring myself to like, oh my god, ex hockey, whatever hockey player, like, tweeted something like vaguely off color when he was 16. It's like I literally cannot bring myself to give a shit anymore.
I mean, it is bad. And like you have to, I think it sort of depends on who you are now, right? Like if you've
Right,
sort of
exactly.
like demonstrated that you're not that person. However, it also is hard for me just because I remember the internet at that time and I remember that like the status quo and like the rules of society were very, 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 very different. And that doesn't make it okay. But also, doing it now is so much crazier because the rules are crystal clear when it comes to like
16
that.
years ago, California voted voted against legal gay marriage. 16 years,
Right.
not 50, 16.
Yeah. And
Like
like,
the
especially
the
because,
the
and
the,
especially
the
it's like when
level
you,
of shift that we have seen in our politics in the last 20 years is quite radical. And
it
I'm
is,
kind of done with getting mad at people about tweets from 2011.
that is very fair. And I also think it's like combined with the rules thing with the age. It's like when you are that age, like that's how you learn right and wrong is like you look around you and you like look at what other people are saying and doing and acting and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are very so much a product of your environment at that age that I'm like, I don't think that necessarily makes you like a hateful person.
No, God no. And like the like super interesting socio like trend is just like how much less homophobic 16-year-olds are now than they were even a decade ago.
It's yeah, it's crazy.
It's fantastic, but yeah, that's my take on cancel culture.
Yeah,
Or whatever at
on Lewis
whatever
Hamilton's
formula underscore whatever on Instagram, I
yes.
believe. I've taken up way too much of your time, so I'm just trying not to extend it. Who does Charles win another race? Just rapid fire. I'm going to give you three
Yes.
questions.
He's gonna win Singapore.
Yeah, that's not a bad check. Singapore and Monaco obviously are fairly similar in terms of what cars go well around
Yeah.
there.
And
Does
also bring back Lewis Hamilton unhinged social media.
does Mercedes win another race this year? If so, where?
Yeah, I think Lewis will win in Brazil. That's maybe
Yeah,
more of
that
a manifestation, but
no, that seems fair. Like, Lewis will extract something from that. And then you are pretty big on McLaren's gonna sorry, Max is still gonna win the drivers. Who do you have winning the constructors?
McLaren, easy, easy, easy peasy.
Okay. Well, follow me on Twitter at eScrimshaw. Follow the Scrimshaw Show on Twitter at Scrimshaw_show. Buy my book, Salvation in the Storm. You have started reading Salvation. What do you think of it?
Yes, it's good. It's a little bit painful for me, because I know frat boys in real life, so oh, but no, it is very good.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back anytime.
If we have like a real title fight, I'm probably gonna have you on like sort of Coda-ish.
Yes, I'm
Or
excited.
or maybe after, so either before Coda or after Brazil. Like if we, because it's Brazil and then it's the triple header. It's the Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi double triple header. Um, like that might be what I have you on. It'll depend on what the title fight looks like, right? Like if Lando really does the thing, like if he goes 4 for 4 in the 4 races in this 5 weeks, then I'll probably have you back on before Coda. But
Oh,
we'll see.
Lando Norris. We'll see. This is it. The
Anyways,
thing is, the chips are down. Like he needs to be about it in this moment. And it's like, I guess it's just a question of how much faith you have in Lando Norris.
the take I wrote for the lines is that basically this is his like real title chance because I think next year with a full season in a upgraded car, I think actually George is arguably the title favorite going into 2025.
Well, and also you just number one, you just never know how things are going to change from year to year. One year Mercedes was, I mean, obviously that was a regs change, but like one year you can like title,
Nobody thought Mercedes would win 3 races before the summer break this year in
right.
when we were in
And
Bahrain for testing. So yeah.
and you just never know when title chances are going to come around again. It's never guaranteed for the next year, even if you are seemingly in like the most dominant car. That can come to a screeching halt at any moment in time. So,
I mean, Jenson
well,
Button was in what seemed like the totally fastest car in early 2009. And then, Mercedes, which inherited Braun GP, did not do jack shit for 4 years, right? They
yeah,
won one
exactly.
race with Nico Rosberg.
So you just gotta,
Yeah,
you gotta take advantage and we'll see. We will see.
for sure. Thank you so much for giving me your time.